China's cyber attacks in America, a much bigger problem than we originally thought. I want you guys to check this out. This is a secret NSA map obtained by NBC News. In the last 5 years, more than 600 corporations and government entities have been attacked by Chinese hackers. So, how safe are we? And more importantly, why isn't the government doing more to protect us? Joining us now, former Massachusetts Senator and Fox News contributor Scott Brown. Scott, Senator Brown, 600, we knew these attacks are going on, but you look at that chart and the depths of that chart and also the patterns on that chart, it's pretty clear that the Chinese have specific things that they're going for. They're going for Silicon Valley, they're in Washington, D.C., and there are other places that they can obtain information. And this is more than just an economic situation. It makes me feel very vulnerable to look at that map.
Well, certainly, Charles, first of all, thank you for having me on. And it's no secret. And secondly, that map is not secret anymore. The fact that they have it, that it's out, certainly is good for the public to understand what's going on so they can take precautions. I can say as a former senator, I was certainly aware of those attacks. I felt and still feel that cybersecurity is the new frontier where the next battles are going to be taking place. And if you look at that map, you're right, Silicon Valley, up in Massachusetts, the Boston area, the high-tech biopharma areas, and then a lot of the strategic areas in our country. So I'm deeply concerned, and it comes from lack of leadership at the top. The president has not made this a priority, and China, as you know, controls, what, $1.4 trillion of our debt? So for the president to go right after the jugular and say, listen, you need to stop this, it's a problem.
You know, yesterday, too, without any fanfare, the General Accounting Office put out a report on cybersecurity. Apparently, the FBI in 2012 was authorized to hire a whole bunch of the cybersecurity experts, a whole bunch of engineers. I think they hired about 2/3 of the amount. I mean, it's just the report is littered with mistakes and gaffes, from communication to just a lack of effort. Why is our government letting us down? I mean, the FBI was told, hey, go out and hire these guys, and they still haven't done it.
It's interesting you say that. I remember about 2 years ago, I got a call from the FBI saying that the North Korean cyber squad, or whatever it's called, had hacked into my personal files and the like. And so they did a good job then. I felt very grateful and was able to obviously deal with it. But the simple fact that we haven't made it a priority, it always seems like we're reacting. We're not being proactive in addressing a lot of these national security, foreign policy, domestic security, domestic policy issues, and we're always reacting versus being proactive. So, Charles, you tell me why. It's because I think the president is checked out, and Congress is running for the next election cycle, and here we are. And I hope it doesn't come into dramatic fashion of being a real nightmare. Well,
we know it's going to be a real nightmare. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And, joining us right now, we've got Fox News contributor Lisa Daftari. Lisa, yesterday FireEye reported their earnings, and the CEO gave a conference call. He says that this Cold War, this new Cold War, the cyber war, has ramped up big time, and it feels like we are way behind. And it's not just China and Russia, but even these rogue nations and rogue entities like ISIS all coming at us.
Right, and it just demonstrates the vulnerability, regardless of whether it's cyber espionage in the case of Russia and China, or cyber terrorism in the case of ISIS and other jihadi groups. This shows the vulnerability of our infrastructures. These groups, whether they're tied to bigger governments or rogue jihadi groups, they know that breaking down our infrastructure will bring the U.S. to its knees. That is where we have all our vulnerable information regarding the military. That's where, in the case of China, they're after our economy, they're after our jobs. They're after any sort of technology information, pharmaceutical information, and that's where our vulnerability is. And as was mentioned before, I mean, these nations and these groups and these rogue entities, they recognize that we're not in front of the curve, we're always chasing it. And whenever there is some sort of emergency, like a report like this comes out, we're always playing catch up and trying to say, how can we prevent this? But you know what, this conversation we're having a bit too late.
Well, listen, I hope it's not too late. And Senator Brown, here's the thing. According to that NBC report, so far this has cost us $300 billion. Now, I got to tell you something. I think that's a drop in the bucket as to what it's going to cost us. To Lisa's point, they're really smart. They're taking trade secrets, technology secrets. It's absolutely amazing the things that they've had access to. And then you think more recently, we had the Anthem breach. We had the Office of Personnel Management, then, of course, United Airlines. And a lot of experts are saying Cobble those three together. Office of Personnel Management, United Airlines, which is the largest flyer out of Dulles. Dulles is next to Langley. Langley is the CIA. So it's economic sabotage as well as our safety. It's an ultimate 1-2 punch here.
Well, absolutely, Charles. They're trying to gain any and every tactical advantage, not only to beat us economically, but potentially have an advantage militarily. Whether you call it espionage, whether you call it terrorism, I think it's probably a combination of the two. And we have to be more proactive. And the problem with the federal government is, number one, they're not a good steward of our money. Number two, when it comes to doing advanced technological projects, they're so big and cumbersome and slow, they haven't been able to react to the changing technology when it comes to cybersecurity, and then they're throwing good dollars after bad dollars after bad dollars, and that's a problem.
And Lisa, one of the things that this GAO report said is that the FBI is sort of complaining that they can't compete against the private sector. I don't buy it. I mean, I don't know where you are on this, but I just think that they continue to drag their feet. There's a lack of communication between all the security forces. By the way, we know going back to 9/11, this is one of the key vulnerabilities of this country. We have so many entities out there that are supposed to protect us, but they don't even talk to each other.
Right, there is a lack of communication, and only in times like this where we see that there is an issue, or we're seeing this being talked about in a comprehensive way, again, bringing together the terrorism with the espionage. But again, even if it's our enemies, they're just trying to tell us that they know where we are and they can get to us. And $3 billion, as you said, is going to, it's a small fee to pay at this point in terms of covering our bases and making sure that we're secure. And this is the front, or the battlefield on which we have to now prioritize all of our resources.
So, yeah, no, it's been $300 billion, but I think the number will be in trillions. Go ahead, Senator.
Yeah, Charles, one thing that we're kind of wrestling with is, where does the Patriot Act come in? On the one hand, You have Rand Paul and others to say, listen, we don't want to renew the Patriot Act, but the Patriot Act gives those agencies the ability to do the very thing we're talking about. So we have to find that balance of respecting our rights and freedoms, but also making sure that we're safe and secure.
Well, but to that point, Senator Brown, I think most Americans would be okay with this ultimate powerful Patriot Act if they knew it was just going to be used for common sense stuff. Someone from Detroit keeps calling Yemen over and over again. Maybe that's a yellow flag, if not a red flag. But, the idea that I call my cousin in Brooklyn and you shake me down, or you put me under surveillance is dumb. That's what I don't get. Why won't they just, we want to give them the power, I think. We're afraid they're testing our infrastructure. They're testing our electric grid. They've stolen billions of dollars in property from us. But that's the point. How can we get Washington not to use this weapon against us?
Well, that's right. And it's morphed into something. What was once a sound, incredible program is now kind of creepy. And as a result, you have the outrage from the American public. And then, obviously, the elected officials are going to back them up, obviously, because it's an election year and a presidential election year.
Right.
So it's good fodder for conversation. So I don't disagree with you. Listen, if there's probable cause, let's go after these people and make sure they can't hurt us in any way, shape, or form.
I like that. Probable cause. Hey, Senator Brown, Lisa, you guys are fantastic. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again real soon.